Welcome to the last Hytale stream of 2025. Today we're doing Hytale Creatures. I'm just taking a peek at the blog post right now, the new blog post about the block bench models, which I'm very excited to try out. We're going through this alphabetically. I do want to give the same preface that I've given before, which is that everything in the game is under review. And so anything we cover, we have no idea exactly what is going to show up in the game or how it's going to look or how it's going to be developed over time. This is only what we know presently right now. We've seen this little mob list that's currently on the side of the screen a couple times. I have two different ones here. One is from the 16-minute Breaking the Curse gameplay footage, in which it is like the spawning an NPC in mob list, and then this one is for changing a player model. So this includes other things other than just creatures. We're going to skip over the ones that are not creatures. These are things that are, I would assume, are just like entities, like, you know, arrows and bombs and things like that. But we're going to go through this alphabetically to the best of our ability. As always, if you think I've gotten something wrong or if I've missed something, definitely let me know. And if you're watching this on YouTube, we streamed this live on twitch.tv/BreadleyIsStreaming. So, let's begin. Alphabetically, we jump into Zone 2 with the Antelopes. If you didn't watch last week's video or stream, that covered the factions. We're not going to include the faction creatures in here, we're just doing creatures. If you want to see the factions and those sorts of beings, then go check out that video. It covers all of them. But these antelopes, it does look like, based on what we saw in the last video, those Ferans sometimes use the skulls of these antelopes as masks and accoutrements on their clothing. I really hope that eventually the antelopes are tameable and rideable. I know that we don't really have like a taming or pet system at the launch of the game. They've already made that clear. But eventually, fingers crossed, I'm hoping for it. This is a super grainy video. It's the best quality that I could get on this. It just shows a little bit of the antelope animation, which despite the graininess does look very smooth. Next we've got this. I put this under the armadillo label because I saw somebody else call it an armadillo. It's definitely a glyptodon, right? If anybody else knows what they think these creatures are, let me know, but I think it's a glyptodon. I don't think it's an armadillo, but the way that this is curled up, definitely a little artistic ingenuity, artistic freedom there, because that's very armadillo style, and I don't believe that a glyptodon would have been able to do that. But nonetheless, we got these creatures in the game too. I also want them to be rideable. I want to be able to ride around on the glyptodon. Hytale, please let me do it. I know that I can just do it with commands, but please let me do it. Anyways, back to our list of everything. We've got bats. There's also ice bat listed on the left-hand side over here. I don't think we've ever seen a picture of an ice bat, but we've obviously seen the bats. And now I don't want to talk about their eye color. Then we have the bears. We actually saw in a video, a time-lapse building video, there was a little bear off to the side of it in the corner, and you can actually see part of its like animation cycle, including it takes a lot of naps, which we can see it doing right here. It just kind of like walked around a lot and then napped for a long time, and then it would get up, it'd walk around and nap for a long time. It was very cute. The bears are also said to have taken out a lot of testing players for the game, and so they have since been nerfed a little bit because apparently they were too intense and too powerful. We can see another one in the background over there as well. And we get the polar bear, which is very cute. You can see another one swimming in the water there as well. And the bison. The bison seem to be a counterpart to the cow, basically, for Zone 3. Speaking of Zone 3, if you didn't see, it has been renamed from Borea to Whisperfrost Frontiers. Thoughts? Comments? I'm not gonna lie, I thought that Borea needed to change. Whisperfrost Frontiers is a little bit of a mouthful, but Borea doesn't fit with the naming convention of the other three zones. You know, you get like a blank something, blank something, blank something, and then it's just Borea. It's just one word instead of, you know, a little double word name. After the boars, not the boars, the bison, hello? We get bluebird. My face is covering it, but it's bluebird over there. I don't think we've ever seen a picture of a bluebird, but we have seen the bluegill. This was in the 16-minute gameplay. It's a little sideways, but that is a bluegill right there. past the bluegill, we get to, I'm gonna move my face for this because I do want to know if somebody else has any other takes on this. Boy and boy trail boy. I don't know what that's supposed to be. I don't know, like, we've not seen the full list of things here. What I'm trying to say is maybe there's also girl and girl trail, and man trail, and woman trail. I don't know if it's just like NPCs that you would be able to drop in or change your model to, like a very simplified version of a human NPC, and maybe the trail variant is like an adventuring looking variant of a human NPC. I truly don't know. If you have any ideas, let me know. But after that, we get Bramblekin and Bramblekin Shaman. I don't think we've ever seen anything labeled as Bramblekin, but I'm gonna jump out on a limb here, okay? Hear me out, okay? It has seemed pretty clear that this image right here, if you've not seen it before, is a Quebec. They're these little tree people, and this looks like a corrupted version of a Quebec. It's got these like bits coming off of its body, like these extra branches, and the same thing coming off of its head. What do you call scraggly branches? You call them brambles. And kin means related to. Bramblekin, bramble little creature related to the Quebecs. We also have in that list a Bramblekin Shaman. We know that the Quebecs have tree singers, which are their version of a shaman. So maybe that's a corrupted version of one of those? I don't know. Food for thought. But I'm placing my bet right now. I think that right there is a Bramblekin. And also a corrupted Quebec. I think it's one and the same. That's my theory. That's my thought. I have something to add to the bunny section from the last video because somebody posted a very insightful comment under the last video where we were going over factions, and obviously you can see here we got a little Quebec, these little tree people, and they photosynthesize to eat, and yet we can see quite a few images where they have farms that they cultivate in their villages. And somebody said, well, they're said to have pet rabbits. We can see it right here in the concept art, so potentially they cultivate food and farms for the rabbits. I really like that theory. I think it's very compelling. Also, obviously the bunnies are in fact jackalopes, given the horns, but Hytale does have a way of sometimes tweaking those little simple mobs and making them a little bit more interesting, which is really cool. So we got the bunnies. We know that the Quebecs are said to have little pet rabbits, which is very exciting. We've never actually seen any footage of that. We don't know if it's a mechanic currently in the game, but hopefully it is one day added, and I'm very excited to see that happen. Then we have Cacti. Cacti really strikes me as one of those incredibly unique mobs that really doesn't make a single bit of sense, but it's just fun. Although it does continue my theory of the magic of Gaia kind of seeping into different parts of the world. And so we get like the living Quebecs that are, you know, living plants in Zone 1 and Zone 3. And then here in Zone 2, we get the Cacti. We can see a little video of it right here. It's very cute. It's almost weeping angel-like. You turn around and then it starts to run towards you. It's just so good. It's so good. The camels are another one that are very odd, the way that they've portrayed them in the game. The camels have turtle shells. They got turtle shells on their back, and they also have those little horns on top of their noses. I wondered if this was like a reference to something. All I could find was a turtle camel that was in like the Croods TV show. So I don't think it is a reference to something. I think they're just like that because they can be. Because why not, I guess. Past the camels in the list, which my face is currently covering, but that's fine. We get the little cat, which also, assumably, will be a tameable animal. But again, we don't actually have a pet system launching at the beginning of the game, as far as we've been told. So we will have to wait and see when we get to enjoy the time with our cats. And then we have the chickens, which you can see at the bottom of the screen there. I think this is a little chicken animation. It is a little chicken animation. Look at it go. You can also see in the background, I'm going to pause it, one of the little lanterns for the fireflies. We get firefly lanterns in the background. I would assume that the fireflies in the game are more of a particle effect that you would be able to collect and put them in a lantern more than like an actual mob with its own AI. We'll see. chicken in a chicken coop. Oh, we have an undead chicken. That's the variant that we have. You can have a living chicken, or you can have an undead chicken that has a fork in its back. So think about that. Anyways, after that, we get the clownfish, which you can see right there. And throwing in some other fishies right here as well. We're going to check out some more later, but you can see a big, beautiful pufferfish right there as well that does blow up. It doesn't always look like that. It does expand, which is very, very cool. Then we have the corgi, which seems to be set just directly under the name corgi and not dog, which makes me wonder if we're going to get other breeds of dog as well. And then we have cows. So I don't know if you know this, but there is an attribute that you can assign to animals in the game called poop. Meaning, does it poop? Does the animal poop? Because with poop in the game, it's so funny that the music stopped as soon as that happened. That was very good timing. So not only can you use poop as a weapon, it seems to blind people temporarily, but also this is a very small detail. Look at Budakat's face here when he's on screen. You can see just the straight line of the mouth. And then the skin animates itself. You get the frowny face expression at the end, which is a very cool detail. I hope that is an actual function of the skins in the game, even if you make your own skins. That would be incredible. Moving past all of those, we get the little crabs in the background there. You can see the beautiful gecko in the foreground. And then we get the crawlers. I know I touched on these in the factions video, but we're going to go in just a tiny bit deeper into some of the stuff that we've seen about them so far. These are void spawns. So servants of Feran. Maybe they're animated humans. Maybe they're just monstrosities. We really don't know, but they are seemingly chopped off halfway through. You just get a torso and some creepy looking arms and a head. Nasty little critters. They seem to spawn everywhere, as far as we can see. We've seen at least screenshots of them in, I think, every zone except for Zone 4. And then we get the crocodiles. This is an image from inside of an oasis in Zone 2. There was a mention, I think in one of the blog posts, that the oases are a safe place to stop. However, they may not always be safe given the other creatures that also like to stop there. So I'm wondering if this is an example of a crocodile being drawn to an oasis. In the background here, we can see a little crow. I actually genuinely love the crow model, like the little swoop of the feathers on the head there. We can see more of them flying up here, and we can see more of them. Let me move my face. In the background right there. And then we can see the deer. It looks like the adult male deer get the little, like a flower crown on their antlers, which is very cute. You can see some in the field there, and I just had to include this because it's still my favorite biome. I'm very excited about it. And you can see the little deer in the corner down there as well. And then the dragons. There's 3 types of dragons that we know so far. There's the ice dragon, obviously. We've seen quite a few clips of this. We even have a brief little image of a player changing their model into an ice dragon and taking off. We also have this concept art from the trailer of a void dragon, which we saw in the trailer. However, when we've seen the list so far of all the mobs and we get to the dragon section, we get dragon ice and we get dragon fire, which I don't believe we've ever seen in the game. We get Dragon Fire and not Dragon Void. I hope that it gets put back in the game because that seems like a really epic boss to have. A void infected, corrupted dragon. That's epic. And then ducks. From dragons to ducks. We get a little video of them too. Look at the animations that they do in the water. Dunking the head and everything just like a real duck. It's so vivid, the way they've animated the creatures. I love it so much. Over here, I have another question, because I don't know what is going on here. Edible rat? Edible goblin scraper? What does that mean? Edible rat and edible goblin scraper? That doesn't make a single bit of sense. Is it like you've cooked? I don't know. I truly don't know. But I would absolutely love to hear if anybody has any ideas. Moving past the edible whatever that is, we do get the eels. We have in the list electric eel and moray eel. I don't think we've ever seen an electric eel, but we have seen the moray. Fun Bradley lore for you. I have seen moray eels. I've swam with them in oceans in real life. I hate them to death. I hate moray eels. They actually make my skin crawl in the worst way possible. If I see them in the game, I'm going to kill them. I'm going to fry them up. I'm not even going to eat them. I'm going to throw their body parts away. That's so... I've gone too far. I'm going to kill them. Then we have the Ember wolf. This is a creature that you get in Zone 4, the Devastated Lands, and we did see it in the 16-minute gameplay footage. It's right over here. That's a clip from the footage. It was killed very quickly in the footage. I'm sure that is a balancing issue and that its health will be increased eventually. It kind of like surged forwards and then froze. And I know they've said there's a lot of problems with the mob's AI that they're trying to update. Hopefully, eventually, the Ember Wolf is going to make a very cool adversary. And then we have the eyes, the void eyes. Again, we've already touched on them a little bit before, but these, we can see a little animation for it here. Very cosmic horror, very Lovecraftian creatures. I would assume, I'm going to jump out on a limb here. When you attack void eyes, we've seen this in the Breaking the Curse gameplay footage. When you attack them, they spawn other void creatures around them to defend themselves. We saw them spawn, I think it was one of those little grub-like things, and also some crawlers. So I'm going to guess that these eyes are quite literally eyes for Feran, for the enemy. And that when you alert your presence to these eyes, you are therefore in more danger because it will summon more creatures related to itself to attack you. Kind of like an Eye of Sauron situation, right? Like, the eye part is very literal. It's literally spying on you for the enemy. Again, that's just a theory. That's just my theory. I think I'm onto something. Then we get the fen stalkers. I got a few things to show for the fen stalkers. We've not really touched on them that much before, but these are creatures that you can find inside of Zone 1, which is currently, I think, renamed to the Emerald Wilds instead of Emerald Grove. Presumably because some of it doesn't have groves, and in fact is just plains or cliffs. But they hang out a lot in the swamps here. We can see a little footage of them. That, I believe, is called the alert noise. The Fenstalker alert noise. Let's go over to the Fenstalker page. We're going to check out a few of these. Fenstalker death. Oh, they're so derpy for being a creepy creature. Fenstalker bait. Okay, so if you're not familiar, Hytale has a goal called Living World. And that basically means that all the elements of the world really interact with one another in a way that feels very alive. And so a lot of the creatures will react to one another, or at least they're planned to eventually react to one another, or they will react to certain items, not only that you're holding, but that you present to them or drop on the ground. So this is an example of that. This person's going through the swamps and uses this to, I guess, distract one of the Fenstalkers. Just a piece of fish, but look at it. Look how cute it is. And then it just starts munching away. I honestly really love the Fenstalkers. I want to keep one as a pet. Oh, look at you. A Fenstalker and a frog. So I've read that they're supposed to have some sort of affinity for frogs. That's so cute. I want to watch it again. So presumably they're like somewhat related, right? But it seems to recognize the frog and play along with it a little bit. And then this is oh, look at its sad eyes. Poor monster. This is a way to fend off the Fenstalkers. So as you're going through a swamp, you pull out a torch. Some of the mobs seem to have different reactions to torches, which we'll get into a little bit later. But it does seem to just completely stop them in their tracks, which I guess makes holding the torch in this part of the world a great way to travel. In other parts, though, we'll get to this a little bit later, it looks like to avoid the attention of one of the creatures, the player removes the torch from the hand to avoid casting light. I think that's all the Fenstalker videos that we have. It is. All right, let's jump back over here. So, moving past the Fenstalkers, I do want to touch on this briefly too. So I didn't actually notice this before. I'm going to move my face. Over to the side, you can see a bunch of different types of Ferans listed. Those are the little anthropomorphic fennec fox people that live in Zone 2. And they're a little bit tricky to pin down because we've not seen that much of them. We really don't know that much about where they live or how they live. But over on the side, you can see a couple very interesting names. First of all, a Feran burrower, which we've kind of struggled in these streams to find very concrete examples of where the Ferans live. We have some guesses, but it's really just that. It's just guesses. But burrowers does make me wonder, okay, they've got like, you know, hide huts or something sometimes, but maybe sometimes they quite literally just live underground in burrows, and that's why we don't actually see them that much in what we've seen of the game so far, because they're hiding, they're living underground, which would also make sense considering the original story that they were created with, where they basically escaped incarceration and enslavement with the Scarix. So naturally, of course, if you are escaping that and the people who did that to you are still in the same part of the world, you would try to hide. That lore looks like it's under review and may change, but considering that's probably how this got added into the game, it makes a lot of sense. The other interesting one down here is Feran Windwalker, which, considering wind is the primary element of Zone 2 in the game, I wouldn't be surprised if that's some sort of shamanic equivalent for the Ferans. Food for thought. Don't think we've seen a green finch in the gameplay footage so far, but what we have seen is the flamingo, once again at the Oasis in Zone 2. And then we get the fox. This is footage from the original trailer in like 2018. And it's just chasing a rabbit. This apparently is scripted behavior, but they want to add things like this into the game eventually to, again, make it very living world so that the animals are really interacting with one another and all these different factions are interacting with one another as you move through the world. And then we have the little frogs. I know we already saw a sneak peek of them with the fen stalkers. You can see another one back here. We get the little orange frog. And then finally, oh, actually not finally, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this creature is. If anybody knows what this is, please tell me. I can't find information on it. Big frog? Big spiky frog? I don't know if it's anything other than that, but if anybody knows something, please let me know. Drop it in the comments or something. And then we get the little frog over here that has a crown on his head. He looks very sad. Maybe he used to be a prince. And then we have more fishes. We get the little eel again, which I'm going to kill to death. And some beautiful fish out in the ocean. We've been told already the oceans currently are very bare bones and pretty empty right now. They've described them as non-existent. I don't think because there's quite literally no oceans, but I think because there just isn't really anything in them. Which I assume just all has to be added back into the game. Or maybe added for the first time. We don't know how much of this was just like set up to look pretty for a trailer versus actual game functionality. And then we have the spooky looking void piranhas. And a little lobster over there. And then I'm thinking of the word anemone, but that's not correct, I don't think, right? For these little things, the little spiky ball things that have the hole on the top of them that they breathe out of and eat out of. I've quite forgotten the name, but we have them too. And then we have the little gecko, the beautiful little gecko. I love it so much. And then we have the golems. So this is a golem that you find in sort of a dungeon, a temple of Gaia, or garden of the elements. That has been corrupted by the void. However, we do have specific elemental golems that we've seen, and I think I've actually found some more footage of them than I had found for previous videos. So we do have an elemental in the foreground here. We're kind of skipping elementals for this because this is quite literally the only image that I know of existing for one at all. But in the background, we can see a earth golem back here that looks like it's rising up from the pedestals in the middle of this stone circle. We can also see in the background of this image over here, this looks like some sort of ice golem that's in the caves beneath, I would assume, Zone 3. And then this is new in this blog post that was just dropped. We've got these videos concepting the magma golem. And there's a couple interesting things here. First of all, magma golem, that's very cool. But also secondly, we finally get to know what exactly this thing is. This is footage from a while ago that was released. And the player very quickly turns around. Let's see. Ooh, let's see if we can pause that. There we go. That is what it used to look like. And it looks like it's been reimagined or redesigned to some capacity. But apparently that was a golem. I had not been sure what to put this in. Like, I had literally crafted this Google Slides presentation. And I had just put this at the end in the section of mobs where I really don't know where to put them or what exactly they're called. But now we know what it is. Now we know what it is. As soon as that blog post came out, I was able to update it and put it in the correct spot, which is pretty cool. Magma Golem. Here, as we're going into the next section, we do have a little example of the player as he's progressing through the world. He has the torch in his hand here, and then I believe in order to not continue alerting mobs, takes it out of the hand. You can see this happen a few times in the gameplay footage that we've gotten in the last month, the 16-minute gameplay footage, and it seems to be a technique where sometimes the mobs respond negatively to torchlight, as in like the fen stalker, right? It fends them off. And then in some cases, it seems to alert them. We can see another example of this later on that I'll point out when we get to it. But here we have, I'm calling them the Grubs. I don't actually know if that's the right name for them, but they are these little bug-like creatures that just crawl around that are void related. And they do seem to be in the fray when the Void Eye summons some crawlers in the gameplay footage that we saw as well. They seem relatively harmless. Relatively easy little enemies. There we go. This was from the Breaking the Curse gameplay footage, and everybody really focused on the fact that the Void Eye summoned crawlers, which is definitely a lot more threatening, but he summoned this guy too, as far as I can tell. We see in this old picture, there's some more of them down here. They have red eyes here. So this is an old one. I assume it got updated to match, you know, the whole color scheme that they're developing in the game. But we can see some there too in the Emerald Grove. I threw this in here just because they're very, very similar in appearance to the larvae that the Scarix have. I don't know if that's just coincidental. It could be. It could be purely a coincidence, and it means absolutely nothing. But I noticed it, and so I'm showing you nonetheless. Here we have a beautiful hawk flying through the wilds of Zone 2. And you can see a horse down there too. We're about to get to the horses. It's just a gorgeous landscape. So the horses, a rideable creature as you hit Zone 2. It makes a lot of sense that when you hit Zone 2, you're actually branching out into the world for the first time outside of Zone 1, and then you get a proper mount to be able to explore a little bit faster. We can see another horse there, and then one that's kind of shoving its face into the wall of Zone 2 here as well. We have hyenas in the caves of Zone 2. And then the Clops. I'm the #1 Clops fan. If there's no more Clops fans left in the world, it means I've died. Okay? I love them so much. And then we have the Kraken. We've been told, I believe, that the Kraken is not presently in the game. But we can see these really cool bits of concept art for it. It would be amazing if it gets added back into the game as a kind of deep sea boss that you can get to if you venture out. I love Pirates of the Caribbean 2 when the Kraken attacks the ship. I just want to live out that in Hytale. Which also brings me to a semi-related point. I would love ships in the game. I feel like now I'm reaching a little too far. Now I'm being greedy. I want working ships. There's mods that do this in Minecraft and they're so bad. They're so glitchy and laggy, and I want that so bad in a real working way. I need it. I need it. I don't actually need it. I want it. And we have meerkats, which are so cute. We have a little video of one later that's very funny, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that later on. We have a big, beautiful moose in Zone 3 as well, and then the moss horns. I said this in the last video. I'm going to say it again here. Hytale devs, let the fawns ride moss horns. I want the fawns to use the moss horns as a mount. Imagine the fawns leading like a charge on Outlanders riding on moss horns. I'd scream. I'd scrumped. Then we have a little mouse over here. We're gonna pop up a little mouse page. So this is a cool little interaction that happens, again, on the note of living world, where these creatures have very particular interactions with different mobs and objects in the game. This is Mouse and Cheese. You can see it investigates, and then it starts to nibble at the cheese. It's so cute. It's so cute. And then it wanders away. And so it seems like it's also a method to get a little bit closer to them, so they're a little bit more approachable. It's so adorable. And then we have owls. You can see these brown owls here and up here on top of this tree right next to my face. And then a snowy owl too, which I think looks absolutely adorable. And then we have the rams. This is also meant to be a rideable creature. Again, don't know that it will be at the launch, but it will be eventually. We can see it being ridden in the trailer from 2018 as this person is attacking a yeti. And then we have the Rex and the Raptors. I'm going to move my face a little bit here so you can see this beautiful concept art. There's a couple other mobs in here that we really don't see otherwise, so I'll just drop them in here now as well. The Dimetrodon and the Macaque. Little monkey, which would be really cool to see. I don't think we've seen these. Correct me if I'm wrong. If they exist in some screenshot or footage somewhere, I would love to see it. I've not found it. I've not seen it. And then prehistoric chicken. If you don't know, the dinosaurs are a little bit bioluminescent. You can see they've got this like anglerfish sort of thing on their head going on, which again kind of corroborates the theory of some mobs respond to light in different ways. And again, you'll see that in a second here. They live in the jungles beneath Zone 4 in these underground subterranean jungles. Here is some footage that was released pretty recently for these raptors. So this is going through those subterranean bioluminescent jungles, and you're gonna see as the player, you hear that? Oh, you can see him in the background. As the player gets close to them, he immediately drops the torch. I would assume because see how they have the lights on top of their heads, they use that to lure creatures, so of course they would respond to light as well. So another example of the player dousing a light in order to attempt to remain unnoticed. Obviously, that didn't actually work here because he was far too close and one was already behind him. But a very cool game mechanic. We can see this little tail right here. What does the tail belong to? This is from the footage, the 16-minute footage. It belongs to a rat, which we can see a little animation video of right here. The rat, that tail, definitely the same tail that we saw right there. There's no question about it. And then we have the Rex, the cave Rex, which we can see towering in the background there. I'm so excited to encounter those in the game. I'm so excited. And then we have saber-toothed tigers, or lions. I don't know. Saber-toothed cats. We have saber-toothed cats, which we can also see the Ferans do seem to use their skulls for masks as well. Let me see another picture of them here. And then one that is sleeping over here across the river right beneath my face. This is glider footage that we got recently. So this is demonstrating a glider mechanic in the game. And there's a few mobs that we can see in the background here as well that I will point out as it goes. Just give it a quick little second. It's such a beautiful vista though. It really is. So first of all, we can see as it swoops down here, there's a little camel in the background. So we see the camels again, but there are a couple that we've not seen as much of before. And in fact, one that might be entirely new, at least to my knowledge, it's entirely new. So as this guy turns a little bit, do you see that? You see that right there? That is a scorpion. You see that tail curled up above its back? That is a scorpion. And then up in the sky, it's very close to the grass, that is a vulture. There it is. There it is. Vulture right there. And then we can see the scorpion again right there. We've seen vultures before. That's not as new. But I don't believe we've seen a scorpion before this. And it's enormous. It's so huge. We also see sharks right here. A couple different types of sharks. We've got a hammerhead in the background. These beautiful little sparrows flitting around the trees. They're so cute. And we have the spiders. I'm worried that the scorpions are going to be able to move like the spiders can, okay? Because watch this. Watch this horror. Do you see? Do you see what I'm seeing? You go over here to the spider tab. Here's the spider. It's also interesting to note all the spiders in the game seem to have 4 eyes instead of 8. You can see it just crawling right up the tree there. No problem. Which I assume means it can crawl like across the ceiling too. I'll pee my pants. It's just... Listen, I I'm usually pretty chill with spiders. I'm usually pretty okay. Oh, it's very loud. I very briefly, in fact, worked at an insectary, and I took care of some spiders. It's just that they're enormous, and they climb up trees. And the idea of being, like, a spider dropping down on you from outside of a tree. We have ice spiders as well. Horrible beasts. Horrible monsters. We also have the void spider, which we have also, it's been confirmed it is not currently in the game. It may return at some point. It is not currently in the game. But this would be a pretty awesome boss if it does make it back into the game. I would love to see it. Then we have the snake. You can see the snake is actually sunk down into the mud. This is a very recent photo, and I believe it's been confirmed that that sinking is intentional and that the snakes can try to hide from you, which is also terrifying. I'm also cool with snakes, right? I have a snake. I own a pet snake. I just don't want a snake to rise out of the mud. We have another cave rex in the background here, but the focus here obviously is the Triceratops, also bioluminescent with these beautiful markings on its body. And then we have a turkey here. This was in the little Thanksgiving post that they did. We have a parrot. I believe this is a parrot down here on a very tropical looking island. And then we have penguins. There's a very interesting part of this picture here. This is the golem picture we used earlier. There's a penguin in the foreground, and it looks like it has some sort of lens over its eye. I don't know if this is some sort of reference to something that I am not aware of, or what's going on here. If anybody has any answers about the penguin with the lens over its eye, drop it in the comments. I don't know what this is about. And then we have pigeons. We see the pigeons honestly quite a lot. There's this very funny video. I'm going to take a guess that this is a player who has changed the model to be a pigeon. You can see the pigeon doing target practice with daggers, which is pretty awesome. And then we have the pigs. I really want to go back over to the Fulbright pig, okay? I want to see the Fulbright. I want to see the luminescent pig again. Look at that beautiful glowing pig. We have pigs. I think the pig model is so cute. And then we have the Feran spawn. These look like they're going to be very threatening creatures in the game. This is also very interesting. We see, I mentioned this before, but I'm going to bring it back around because it's just a very fascinating thing to include in the concept art. It's concept art. We don't know if it'll make it in, but we got an anti-gravity arm, and it looks like an anti-gravity axe here, that both of which is being held together by this energy. Never seen any reference to this anywhere else in the game. No idea if it'll be in the game, but what a crazy concept. And then we can see some in the background here, along with the little crawler. And one that looks to be guarding some sort of significant dungeon or instance in the game here as well. And this is from, again, the 16-minute footage. Here it's standing at the edge of the forest. It makes really no move towards the player, which makes me think that the AI here is broken for it, and it just can't move, because it literally just stands there. The player passes by it, turns back around, it just grunts and stands there. Nonetheless, it looks terribly threatening. It looks scary. There's a volcanic snail down here, which I don't, if you didn't know, this is a real thing. Hang on. Look at them. This is a real thing. These are real creatures. They're so cool. They are so cool. And we got them in the game. They're in the game. Here we can see some more vultures. I know we saw them in the little footage earlier, but we can see some flying through the sky and a couple that are perched down here as well inside of Zone 2. I would, again, love to see, in the living world sense, them actually taking part in the ecosystem, and they're part of the food chain. When you kill a creature, like an antelope or something, if they would actually, like, you know, circle overhead or come try to get a little bite. Moving a little further down through the list, this is just a screenshot that we got, but it also gives us a little bit more information. I'm going to move my head on some of the creatures that we have in the game. I'm actually going to keep my head over here for a second because I want to come back to this. We've got a wolf here, and then we have the woodpecker, and then we have the wraith. This is, again, from the 16-minute gameplay footage. It's not been confirmed that this is a wraith. This is just what I'm thinking. And I've seen other people think it too, and I think that they are correct. You can see a chain dangling from its claw here. Back over here, we can see wraith and then wraith lantern. And so I wonder if there's not a version of these in which there is an actual lantern dangling from the chain here. I don't know what purpose it would serve, but it's very interesting. The other very interesting thing to me here is that the shape of the head here definitely looks like the same shape that the void spawn heads have, which makes me think this is another type of Feran void creature. It looks very different from the other ones, though, but it just, that is what it makes me think. We see another one flying over here later on in the same gameplay footage. And then we get the Yeti, which seems to be a big Zone 3 boss. We saw in the trailer years ago that it picked up a chunk of earth and hurled it at the player, which is a crazy mechanic to have. And here you can see it has a necklace with skulls, which not only implies some sort of sentience on its part, but also the fact that it kills people and collects trophies from its victims. Beyond that, we have a bunch of zombies. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the only time we've ever actually seen a zombie, is in this photo. They have the same glowing blue eyes that the skeletons have, so I'd assume it's a similar type of magic that animated them. It's also very interesting that the arm here looks like the same kind of corrupted style of arm that the, what is it called? A Colossus in Zone 3 had. After it gets like mutated and then its arm is all like lumpy and messed up. It looks very similar to that. That we can also see at the bottom, zombie burnt, frost, and sand. And so I assume that we're going to get some similar variants that we get with the skeletons, where they are themed by element and then sorted into their respective zone according to the element. Warthog, Timon and Pumbaa. I told you that the meerkat would come back. It's such a cute little video. It's very short, but it's very cute. So we're past the alphabet now. I don't know what this is. This was just shown in a blog post ages ago to just basically just with the caption, look at the monsters we can make. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to speak my truth, and I hope this is a safe space. This is the worst looking mob I've ever seen. This looks like something that you would see on some SCP Minecraft forum. I hate it. I hope it's not in the game, and I hope it never makes it into the game. I don't think it looks right for the game, especially the way that that mouth is. It just doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good. It feels like I want to kill it to death. We have an undead dog, which is much nicer. I do want to mention here as well, this forest, I have repeatedly, inside of these videos and streams, said that it is within Zone 3. I thought it was a Zone 3 forest. I really did. It's not. It's Zone 4. This is clearly a burnt forest. A devastated forest, if you will. You can even see those little embers flickering through the air. This is 100% Zone 4. And I've just gotten it completely wrong every single time. Nobody's corrected me. Nobody's corrected me on it. But this is definitely Zone 4. This, I just have to put in every excuse I can. We know nothing about it whatsoever other than it's planned to eventually be a boss in the game. It has no AI. It has no purpose yet in the game whatsoever. It doesn't even have a place that it appears. But the model's in there, which means hopefully it'll be in there eventually, and I love it so much. Lastly, if you don't know, there's the 4 zones that we currently have in the game, and then there are, in concept art, a Zone 5 and a Zone 6 that looks like they would correspond to the final 2 elements, which is lightning and then void. So this screenshot was posted after the reacquisition of the game, and you can see Storm Leather and Void Heart, which people immediately thought was a teaser for the final 2 zones. So people were thinking, okay, Storm Leather from Zone 5, which is lightning, Void Heart from Zone 6, which is for the void. This was brought up on Twitter. We have this person at the top saying, could we have a look at Zones 5 and 6 as a separate blog post? The community has been waiting 7 years for this moment, which is true. We've been waiting so long. Simon says they kind of don't exist at the moment. They got nuked years ago. We'll probably revisit them using New World Gen that will be shown in a blog post soon. So we don't have that blog post yet. World Gen blog post is coming closer, I believe, to the turnover from 25 to 26 that's coming up soon. But currently, those zones don't exist in the game. It looks like they may come back eventually, and I really hope that they do. But they don't currently exist. So Canadian Flash asks, where does Storm Leather come from? And Simon just replies, Ancient Gateway, good luck, brother. I've just included this because I'm sure that Storm Leather is from some sort of creature. So Ancient Gateway, I assume, we've gone over this before in the structures video. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. The playlist will be linked in this video description if you're watching this on YouTube. But we've seen that there's going to be dungeons in the game. You go through kind of portals to arrive at these different dungeon fights and instances that you can find in the game, so I would assume that there's some sort of creature that you would be able to find that would drop this. Whatever that is, we don't know, we haven't seen it. Your guess is as good as mine. And that's everything we have today. And I won't be able to stream again until 2026. But thank you guys so much for watching. Happy holidays. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful time. And I'll see you in 2026 with another couple of streams. If you have anything that you want me to cover next, then let me know. But in the meantime, have a wonderful break, and I'll see you in the new year.